It is Tuesday, April 2nd, and the Splash Zone is back in your life. I'm Matt Modai, and I have four NBA player props for you guys to lock in for today's NBA betting slate. Decent slate of games that we have on tap for us tonight. But of course, we can get into those picks. We got to do a recap from yesterday, which was pretty brutal. If you've been following my NBA and MLB picks, yesterday was not one of our best days, both for MLB and for NBA as well. On my mainline plays, I went 1-3. Only got Derek White to cash as I gave that out later in the day. Posted that both to YouTube and Twitter, and I posted it to my Dub Club as well. As for the other three plays, not even close. Grayson Allen, I had him over 3.5 made 3-pointers. I liked the spot, but Devin Booker attempted 16, Kevin Durant attempted 11. Grayson Allen never had a chance. I had CJ McCollum over 22.5 points. That line closed at 23.5, but was still an L. And then I had Cam Thomas over 24.5 points. He ended with 22 and didn't play the entire fourth quarter. Rough day on mainline plays yesterday. Was also a rough day on ladders as well. I climbed the full ladder with Grayson Allen at 3-pointers. I had him all the way up to 8. And guess who hit 8 3-pointers last night? That would have been Devin Booker in the same exact game. So a little bit of bad luck in that we targeted the right matchup in terms of 3-point props against the Pelicans. Just the wrong player as Devin Booker went off. These things happen. It's frustrating when it does happen, but at the end of the day, that is kind of how sports betting works. You have to take the good with the bad. As for the entire season, luckily, we've mostly been very, very much in the good, even including yesterday's losses. We are up 88.13 units on the entire year. We were up over 90, which was great. Now it's only at 88. And then as for ladder plays, I just started tracking those on February 23rd, and we are up 2.23 units there. Pretty rough stretch with ladder plays specifically, I got to admit. We started hot when I started tracking them. It's been rough over the past couple weeks or so. I wish I had started tracking these on the entire season because we would be much, much better than 2.23 units, but I didn't. So I can't claim anything other than what I am officially tracking. But still, obviously, an amazing year overall. The end of the NBA regular season is always pretty brutal. But I'm hoping we can bounce back today. I really do like the 4 plays that we have. If you are not already, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, comment. All that stuff helps me out a ton. And enough of that. Let's see if we can get into today's picks. Let's see if we can splash around and get wet. For our first play of the day in the Mavericks versus Warriors game, I'm taking Luka Doncic over 2.5 first quarter assists. This is best offered at -121 odds at Caesars. I got to admit, I'm really starting to fall in love with these first quarter prop markets. I've been playing them light because I don't want to jump the shark and just start diving in, but I've given out 4 so far, and we've gotten all 4 to cash. And this is a play for Luka that I absolutely love. Now, we're not fading recent results here at all, right? We're doing the opposite of that. Luka's cashed this in 4 straight games. He's cashed it in 8 of 10, and he's cashed it in 11 of 15 as well. Now, first quarter markets is not a very public market that does not get a lot of action. So I do think that this is a situation where we are taking advantage of a prop market that is not heavily bet. So I don't think really a ton of people have caught on to this yet. Not only has Luka cashed this in 8 of his last 10 games, but in 6 of those games, of those 8 that he cashed, he had actually 4 or more. So the floor is there, and the ceiling is there for us as well. Now, I'm just taking this at the over 2.5 number. I just liked to see the fact that even if he has a slower game, he could still get us to 3 because his average is actually higher than that. Now, this holds true for the entire season, not just in the past 10 games, but Luka averages significantly more assists and in relation to that, potential assists in the first quarter than he does in any other quarter. Over the past 10 games, he's averaging 5.3 potential assists. Over the last 10 games, over the last 30 games, 4.7. And on the entire season, 4.1. Now, if you look at his recent sample size, in no other quarter does he average more than 3.5 potential assists. Whereas in the first, again, over the past 10 games, he's crushing it. And even on the entire season, he's crushing it as well. Now, his first quarter minutes can be a little bit spotty. If you're looking at his last 10 games, he will at least play the first 9 minutes. But if you look at his last 2 games specifically, in both those games, he's played over 10 minutes. And in one game, the most recent game, he played all 12 minutes of the first quarter. Now, I'm projecting him to play about 9.5 minutes, something like that. But in a massive game against the Warriors, maybe they do increase his minutes and play him the entire first quarter. That would be amazing. You know he's going to be locked in a massive game against the Warriors as well. This is also a pretty good matchup for Luka assists as well. He's cashed this first quarter prop against against the Warriors in both games this year. Now, he only had 3 assists each. That's lower than what he's been averaging in the past 10. That would still cash this over for us. And if you look at the entire season, you're probably saying, well, it doesn't seem like it's that great of a matchup for point guard assists. But the Warriors defense has been worse recently. You got to look at recent stats. Since the beginning of March, they've been pretty bad guarding point guard assists. And there was a stretch in the middle of March, towards the end of March, where 7 straight point guards cashed their assist prop over against the Warriors. So I love this matchup for Luka. I like it better, specifically in the first quarter, because he tends to play make more in the first quarter than the rest of the game. Let's hope he comes through for us. Next up, second pick of the evening, Cavaliers versus Jazz game. I'm taking Darius Garland over 6.5 assists. This is at -115 odds at bet365. I know it might seem a little bit scary going back to Darius Garland assists, because the last 2 times we've played him, he's burned us. One was an over, one was an under. But this is a really, really good matchup for Darius Garland to have a great assist day. Now, he has been really good recently, so similar to the Luka one, this is not a situation where we're fading recent results, but because of the matchup and because of the situation, I absolutely think it's worth playing, even though he's cashed it in 4 straight games and in 7 of his last 10 games as well. What I love, looking at his most recent sample size of games, are the potential assists, right? It's not as though he's just been lucky converting assists to potential assists. Over the past 10 games, he's averaging 13.5 potential assists per game. He's gotten to at least 10 potentials in 7 of 10 games. One of the games that he didn't was a brutal matchup against the Timberwolves. You don't really put that one totally against him, because that's not a game you would want to look at his assist as well. And that potential assist number of 13.5, that's the 9th most in the entire NBA over the past 10 games. Now, for this one, we only need him to get to 7 actual assists in what is a dream matchup against the Jazz. But real quick, before I get into the matchup against the Jazz, the one thing that I want to note is my guess for why this over-under is as low as it is at 6.5 is because Donovan Mitchell is back for the Cavaliers, but that really doesn't scare me off at all. If you look at the last 10 games, specifically that Garland has played with Mitchell, he has cashed 7 or more assists in actually 8 of those 10 games. So it's better than his normal sample size of games, not taking into account games with Donovan Mitchell. And he has 12.4 potential assists in those 10 games as well. So it's a little bit lower than his overall 10-game pace, but still 12.5 is good for someone that we need to get to 7 assists. Since March 1st, if you isolate the data specifically when Donovan Mitchell is on the floor, Darius Garland is averaging 9 assists per 36 minutes, and that's actually 1.4 more assists per 36 minutes as well. So not scared off by the fact that Donovan Mitchell's in. And as I mentioned, this is a very good matchup for him to get a bunch of assists. The Jazz on the year are listed as the 2nd best matchup for Darius Garland's playmaking style, according to Courtside Pal. Now, they've admittedly been a little bit better recently at point guard assists, not allowing as much on the entire season. Still pretty bad. Over the past 30 days, they're allowing 8.6 assists per game to point guards. That's tied for the 7th most in the NBA in the past 30 days. Last game, De'Aaron Fox lit them up for 12 assists. So let's hope Darius Garland stays hot, cashes this assist prop for us. Next up, third pick of the video, Heat versus Knicks game. I'm taking Jalen Brunson over 6.5 assists, plus 105 odds at DraftKings. So I fell in love with the assist market today, obviously. And this might seem like a scary matchup against the Heat because the Heat defense is very good. I actually think the opposite. I think it's a really good matchup for Jalen Brunson and his assist number. The way the Heat play defense, like Spo's whole thing, is you sell out to take away the team's best option. That's clearly going to be Jalen Brunson. Now, Brunson is happy to have games where he shoots 60 times like he did against the Spurs. He's also happy to have games where he play makes and assists more, especially if the shots are falling, which I can't tell you whether a player is going to make his shots, but the attempts will be there. The volume of attempts for three-pointers will be there against the Heat, and I think most of those will be assisted by Jalen Brunson. Point guards have quietly been accumulating a lot of assists against this Heat defense as well. Looking at the past 30 days, they're allowing 9.5 assists per game to opposing teams' point guards. That's the 2nd most in the NBA in that span. The only team ahead of them is the Suns, and they're allowing 9.6. So reality is they're 0.1 behind the top team. And Brunson, even though he's been really good from a scoring perspective, he's also been really good from a playmaking perspective as well. He's cashed 7 or more assists in 5 of his last 7 games. Both of the games he went under 6.5 assists. He had exactly 6 assists And in one of those games, he scored 61 points and had 47 field goal attempts. Yeah, he's a good scorer. 47 field goal attempts is obviously an outlier. And the other game he went under was a blowout against the Pistons. And if you look at guys with similar playmaking styles to Jalen Brunson and how they have performed against the Heat recently, it's been positive, right? Cade Cunningham had a 2-game stretch against the Heat. He had 18 assists combined in those 2 games, having 9 in each game. A couple days after that, Darius Garland had 9 assists against the Heat. Last time these 2 teams played, Brunson had 8 assists, and that game ended up being a total Knicks blowout. Let's hope that he can come close to 8 assists tonight and at least get us to 7 in a game that should be closer than that last game was as well. That's our 3rd pick. Next up, 4th and final pick of the video. We're actually sticking in the Heat versus Knicks game. And I'm taking Donte DiVincenzo, 5+ made 3-pointers, plus 150 odds at FanDuel. Now, for our last play of the evening, of course, we got to go with the juicy 3-point prop. This time, backing Donte DiVincenzo at a number that might seem ridiculous. 5+ 3-pointers for anybody not named Steph Curry or prime James Harden or Klay Thompson sounds silly, but you need to look into how much he is shooting and then also look into the matchup. And all of this starts to make sense. Over the past 10 games, Donte DiVincenzo is averaging, not his max, he's averaging about 12 3-point attempts per game. And looking at his last 4, he's had 2 separate games where he's attempted 16 or more 3-pointers, with one game when he attempted an absurd 20. Now, he did not make 5 in his last game, but he did shoot 4 of 16 from deep. So I love the fact that we're getting a volume shooter after a rough game in what should be a very, very good matchup against the Heat. If you look at the entire season, the Heat are listed as the best matchup in the entire NBA for shooting guard 3-point props. That's an important stat to look at because not only does it take into account the raw stats that the Heat have given up, but it takes that in comparison with their over-under as well. And not only are the Heat defense bad at guarding the 3-point line, but people are still going over their prop against them. And it's not as though the Heat defense has gotten really any better recently. 7 of the last 8 shooting guards against the Heat have cashed their 3-point prop over-under. A lot of them have done it by multiple 3-pointers as well. That includes Klay, who had 6. His over-under was 3.5. If you're looking at the past 10-game sample size, the Heat are allowing the 5th highest frequency of shots against them, specifically be catch-and-shoot 3-pointers. That's Donte DiVincenzo's music. He is the ultimate catch-and-shoot guy recently. Same sample size, last 10 games. Donte DiVincenzo leads the NBA in catch-and-shoot 3-point attempts per game at 10. That's a massive number. 10 catch-and-shoot 3-point attempts per game is crazy. The next highest guy is at 8.4 attempts, so he's 1.6 higher. He's also unsurprisingly making the most as well. He's making 42% of these 10 attempts per game. Next closest guy is making 4 per game. This is an absolutely awesome spot for Donte DiVincenzo. Hopefully he cashes a bunch of 3-pointers, all on Jalen Brunson assists. That would be amazing. And that's all we got. 4 bangers for you guys to lock in. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And the last thing that I'll mention, I mention it at the end of every video, is that I do have a dub club where I send stuff out. It's only $5 a month. I will admit everything you see for free on YouTube and on Twitter, those are the plays you get on Dub Club. If you're unfamiliar, Dub Club is a service that you can pay to have picks from people like me texted to you, get sent directly to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. And as I mentioned, the same plays you get for free are the plays I give out on Dub Club. The reason why I have it in the first place is not everybody cares enough to watch the YouTube videos, but they still want a tail. Sometimes not everybody has time to watch the YouTube videos, so they like getting stuff sent to them so they can, if they have a busy day. Or by the time people do get to the YouTube videos, the odds change. That happened, unfortunately, a lot yesterday. 2 plays that ended up hitting. We got really, really good positive CLV on. If you were on the Dub Club, you would have been able to get those in before the odds changed, whereas they did change by the time you watched the YouTube video. But if you would rather just pay the best price of free, get everything for free on YouTube and on Twitter, that's totally fine. I just like to give people the Dub Club option. And that's why I only charge $5 a month, because everything you can get for free. But that's all we got. Appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.